Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Coach Rock here from Revenge Basketball, and in today's video, I'm going to be explaining how you can improve your game at home. We know it's Christmas time, you'll be around the family, it's cold, you might not be able to always get to a gym, you might have to do stuff in your basement, in your garage, whatever the case may be. But in today's video, I'm going to explain pretty much a formula or a foundation to how you can continue to improve your game at home. I'm not necessarily going to be giving you drill A, drill B, drill C. This is more of a framework that you can take, and then you can implement some of our other or supplement some of our other videos to attack pieces of what I explained today. So what I explained today will go with pretty much every video we've uploaded on this channel, so pay close attention. Let's get straight into it. So the first thing you need to know when it comes to improving your game at home, the first step, the most important thing, is to do something every day. No matter what it is, don't let a day pass where you don't touch a basketball, where you don't get a few dribbling reps in, where you don't get a few shooting reps in. Some days are going to be more strenuous than others. Even on rest days, you still want to touch a basketball. You still want to get in some reps of something, all right? You don't want any days to pass where you don't touch a basketball, especially if you're a player that is in season and then you have Christmas break or something. Christmas break comes and you're at home and you don't have practice for a week or two. You don't want to just sit at home doing nothing, right? So keep the same mentality whether you're on a team, whether you're not on a team, whether you have games coming up, whether you don't. Always do something every single day. And what's going to happen is something that we call the compound effect. Today it might not seem like you're doing a lot, and tomorrow it might not seem like you're doing a lot, but 100 days from now, that compound effect is going to be huge and you're going to be a significantly better player. Think about that every time you step on the court or step on the garage floor and you're going to do some reps. You're going to just sit in your house and work on form shooting. Like, there's always something that you can do no matter where you're at. Number two, isolate your weakness. Okay, a lot of players, they spend too much time working on their strengths. So while you're working out every day, of course, I know we want to work on the things that we're good at. We want to be able to go to the gym and look cool when we're working out. And that's not going to happen when we're working on our weaknesses, right? There are weaknesses for a reason. But you have to work on those weaknesses specifically if you want to become a better player. If you're 100% on this end and 50% on this end, it does no good for you to keep working on this end without ever working on this end. The only way you can become better is by increasing this end. So this end can only go so high. If this is already your strength, if you're already let's say you're a great ball handler, you can dribble really well. If you practice your ball handling skills every day, you're only going to see small improvements. But let's say this is your shooting, just small improvements in your shooting can make you a significantly better player because it can even you here. You've pretty much reached your top here. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't work on your strengths ever, but what I'm saying is you need to make it a priority to improve your weaknesses because that's going to give you fast results. Because if you're somebody that can only dribble and then within a few months you become a great shooter, think about what that does for your game. Like, it drastically improves your skills and your performance. But if you just keep working on your ball handling and you've pretty much already maxed out and your shooting stays here or gets worse, then you're never going to be that player that you want to be. So focus in on your weaknesses, improve those weaknesses. All right, the next tip for you to do is to isolate your moves. Find one or two good go-to moves that you have and use those moves, master those moves. I talked about this in a video before, and it's kind of the same analogy that I use from Bruce Lee, where he talked about it's better to master one kick, 1,000 times than 1,000 kicks one time. And it's the same thing with your moves. Think about how much James Harden has probably worked on his step back, or Luka Doncic has worked on his step back, or Damian Lillard. Remember when he hit that shot against Paul George? Think about how many times he's worked on that one shot. And that's the one move that he does a lot. And he's mastered it. It's pretty much unstoppable. And yes, he has some counters to it, and James Harden has counters to his step back and things like that. But they really only do a few different moves. They're not pulling out new moves every time down the court. They're really doing the same moves over and over. They've just mastered them to the point where they're unstoppable. And then they have a few counters that they can piggyback off of when they need it. So this is what you want to do. Focus on a few moves. And that's the cool thing I love about moves. You could do them at home. Even sometimes If I have a video shoot to film a video for you and I need to master a move that I want to teach you, sometimes I can't get in the gym. Guess what? I'm in my basement or in my garage working on, even if it's slow motion, even if there's no ball, I'm working on the different footwork and things that are needed to master that move. You can do this at your house, in your room, in the kitchen, anywhere you're at, working on the footwork before you even have a basketball in your hand. So think about some moves, think about your current game, think about what you do in real games, and develop moves that you can implement into your game. All right, the next one is hit all your skills. Now I know we've talked about isolating your weakness, but you also want to be hitting all your skills or your weaknesses in different skills. So maybe you're a good ball handler going right, but not going left, and you also need help with your shooting, and you also need a move. Like, you still want to be working on all of these things. So just because I say work on your weaknesses doesn't mean that you want to stop working on everything else. You still need to work on weaknesses of all your skills and still work on your strengths. You still want to be working on your whole game each week. Maybe break it down by each day. One day you're going to practice this weakness. One day you're going to practice this weakness. This day you're going to practice your strengths. And then some things like shooting. I mean, even if you're a great shooter, you still want to get shots up, because shooting is one of those things, like, you just have to get shots up every day. It's the most important thing. Long story short, you want to be working on each of these skills as often as possible. For example, if you need to improve your weak hand, don't just spend a whole summer working on only your weak hand, because then you will lose some of your strengths and you will not make any improvements on any of your other weaknesses. Find those weaknesses that you have, focus on them, but also don't forget the rest of your skills. Basketball, that's what makes basketball such a great game. You have to be a master of a lot of different skills to be a great player, and that's key. It's not like football where you just play one position and you master that position and you're good. Basketball, you got to master everything to be a great player. Now, the next tip is to work on things that you will be doing in the game. I was watching a podcast with Gilbert Arenas, and he was talking about how, I forgot which player it was. There was one player that was on the Lakers, and he had worked the whole summer on pick and roll, pick and roll, pick and roll. And this is before LeBron got traded there. Well, of course, when LeBron gets traded there, you're not going to be working on pick and roll anymore because LeBron's doing all that. You become a spot shooter. Well, this player hadn't worked on any spot shooting the whole summer. He worked on pick and roll, pick and roll, pick and roll the whole summer, and he wasn't ready to become a spot shooter. I'm not going to say like that mess up his career or anything, but imagine if that whole summer he just worked on spot shooting, he probably would have been able to contribute much more for his team. So this goes to show some things like that he couldn't control. He didn't know LeBron was coming, so it's really not his fault. But you as a player, you're not getting traded. Like if you're on your high school team or your middle school team or your AAU team, you're not getting traded. You know the team, you know your role, you know what you do. Of course, if you want to improve your role, work on those other skills that you need to improve that role that you have so that you can have a bigger role. But at the same time, you need to master the things that you do. If you know you're a point guard and you know a lot of your shots come from the top of the key, and then you get a lot of pull-ups at the elbow, and you get a lot of layups, well, you really want to make sure you are the master of those things. Make sure you're really good at those things. Being able to shoot off your right and left hand, being able to hit both elbows, right side, left side, being able to attack the left and the right side at the rim and finishing with both hands. Make sure you can do those things before you start working on the James Harden step back that you might use one time in a game. Would you rather work on that, or would you rather work on the basic crossover into the elbow pull-up that you might get 5 to 10 times in a game? It makes much more sense to work on that. All right, so those are some tips for you to help you work on your game at home. Now, obviously, some of these require you to be able to have at least a hoop in your backyard. Other ones you can do in your garage or in your kitchen or basement. You probably don't want to dribble a ball in your kitchen, but you know what I'm saying. If you enjoyed the video, do me a big favor, hit the thumbs up, comment below, let me know anything you need help with. That's why this channel's here for you. Last but not least, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications so you never miss another video. Until next time, I'll see you then.